So here at the V Spa, post 4th of July, fireworks in the background because I'm celebrating with the world. What you're about to watch is the Zoom call introducing us taking this book and the group that's behind producing it into a global telethon for charity impact, launching all of our foundations in partnership with others that myself and partners are bringing in, from the Jimmy V Foundation to Michael J. Fox. And yes, I've taken steps to start connecting all of that. Please meet a lot of people that were all key leaders in the Paramount deal. I give you Lovelution overnight through Spontaneous Evolution. The Zoom call to bring back the legacies that Dick Clark and Jerry Lewis started to change an industry overnight.
Hey
Hello,
there.
hello.
Hey,
Hi.
here I am.
Hi, Steve. And by the way, we're going to be joined by more than just a couple people.
Okay.
This is a collective army, literally. I realize that this is part two of what part one was when I did that with literally Piney Woods School.
Yeah.
And again, all this is authentic. I didn't plan any of this in any way. And I want you to be able to talk. The show's for you, just like the other one was Will Crossley. Everybody knows me. Everybody's been listening to me talk now for 14 months. And I don't have to talk anymore. I get to walk in action. And I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. As they come in, and some people are going to be on video, some are going to be off. Some are exhausted and have been traveling nonstop, like Fabian Alomar, but they all showed up because we all know what this is. And we have Reverend Sam Harris and Don Bennett, who's his partner. Don can't join. He had something come up, but we control as a group the Jackson 5 streaming rights, thanks to Mr. Henry Vaccaro. And we also control 74 unreleased master recordings. I'm going to let the gentlemen that oversee the legacies of that talk about that. And we're going to plan an entire telethon focused around that and yours and Bruce's book. And
Cool.
getting global sponsorships will not be a problem. That's what Mr. Robert Buell does. It's what Don Bennett does. It's what I do. It's what other partners do. And I've told the entire world that if we weren't given things, we were going to go seek it out and find it, because I've been walking in a path that was not one created by myself. And I was able to do that by understanding the most important thing in life. And those four core values are peace, love, forgiveness, and kindness, as far as I'm concerned. And I've been through it with some of the people on this Zoom and some people that aren't, because we've all been playing the Jumanji game in life. But what I was able to figure out was I met a lot of people that were at the final level. Some have been playing that for 80 years. Some have been playing that for 10, 12 years. And now all of us are about to level up into something brand new and beyond our wildest dreams, all in one fell overnight motion. My dear friend Rocco Nugent, and yes, that Nugent, he is not his father's son, but he is an honorable man, just like his dad, as it relates to the legacy. And Rocco literally was a shaman guide for me in all aspects, as many other people were. And so, Mr. Bhaerman, as I keep letting people in, including Barry Bogovich, who we're going to utilize his nonprofit Action Through Action to produce all of this. The floor is going to be yours. And I just want you to talk and for everybody to introduce themselves. Um, and there's no time limit for this. And I started this by thinking it was going to be you, Sam, and I, and then the path led me down to all the family getting involved. Right now, we got 15 people in here. So I'm going to do kind of a roll call from what I can see on my phone. I don't have a laptop. Some people know why. But Bruce Chang, if you'll introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Bruce Chang. I've known William for I think a year now, but I've helped come up with Uber Eats, Skull Candy, Flying Scooters, Stand Socks, and Weed Maps. Now,
Thank you, Mr. Chang. David McClendon, if you'll introduce yourself.
My pleasure, David McClendon. Will and I have been friends for a dozen years. We've known each other a long time, and I'm a director, writer, and as a matter of fact, Will and I are going to be doing a film together down the road, and it's a pleasure to be among you.
Thank you, David. Tori Gamble. Oh, he just got up. We'll circle back, but Rick Walker, if you'll introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello. I'm Rick Walker, and I'm a radio morning show host for the last 4 decades. And I'm also a writer and director and producer. Got 3 docuseries and several feature films under my belt, and looking forward to the next ones. But nice to see everyone here. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. He's also an amazing voice in radio, by the way. Won a bunch of awards. He'll talk about that later. Tori Gamble, if you'll introduce yourself.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm Tori Gamble. I've been kind of one of Will's original partners in a lot of this, and kind of have a production history. I come from a pro sports background, but I'm kind of got my fingers in a lot of pots. So I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say today.
Thanks for connecting, Tori. Melanie Feliciano.
Hi guys, sorry I'm being loved on by my cat over here. Melanie Feliciano. I work with Rasta Phil Entertainment and do a lot of production and distribution work in the indie space, and I'm just thrilled to be here with Will, and I appreciate all of you guys and all the work everybody has been putting behind the scenes to make this big picture a reality.
Thank you, Melanie. Catherine Nowak.
Hello, nice to meet everyone. So it was just incredible how I think everything is in divine timing and how we come together. And when synergistic people really come and we feel that vibration. So in a lot of different industries, but I'm just super happy to be here right now and grateful for Will. So thank you.
Thank you, Kat. Fabian Alomar. You can stay off video. Everyone knows you. Introduce yourself. He's on mute. Fabian will circle back around. Bruce Long.
Hey, you guys. I'm Bruce Long, and I've been kind of talking with Will for, I feel like a year, but maybe not quite that long. I come out of a theater background. I've produced on Broadway and West End and regional and educational theaters kind of around the U.S. And yeah, I'm anxious to see what Big Picture is going to accomplish. Standing by the man, so to speak. So let's go.
Thank you, sir. Barry Bogovich.
Hey, everybody. I'm Barry Bogovich. I am the executive director of Action Through Action, a nonprofit media company trying to make projects to encourage social change. I'm also the director, producer, writer, editor, so on of the Back Row Disability Project, Action Through Action's first project to promote disability inclusion in Hollywood. And hopefully is going to raise $1 million for our partner, Rancho Los Amigos Rehab Center. So thanks so much for having me. Excited for you, Will.
Thank you. I'm excited
Nice
for
to
all
meet
of
you.
us. Robert, introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, this is Robert Buell. I'm president of Industrial Film Group. We incorporated in 1965, so yes, I'm almost as old as it would appear here. But no, I'm a screenwriter and producer. I produced over 1,600 projects for companies, Fortune 500 companies, and we always prided ourselves on the fact that we came up with innovative ideas for all of our customers, including a fundraising arena where I've raised over $500 million for organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCAs and that. And when I met Will about 6 months ago, we worked out an arrangement where we could incorporate some of these ideas in both our personal wishes and goals, and that seems to align quite well with what Will is working on. So we write nothing but good projects, high concept scripts that I think some of them aren't comparable with today's garbage that's out there. So that's where we're coming from at this point.
Thank you, Robert. Bill, introduce yourself, please. You're on mute.
Hey guys, it's Bill Boyd Jr. I met Will maybe, 3 or 4 months ago, not that long. I think he's passionate. He's an amazing human being. He's a force to be reckoned with. And when I met him through Dave Sheridan, who's a community, a very well-known actor and a community person trying to do the same thing we're all trying to do. Will is outstanding, and I stand beside him.
Thank you, sir. Grateful for you. And Bill Boyd spent many years with somebody who I'm trying to follow in their footsteps, Mr. Jerry Lewis, and also Dick Clark. So he's been involved in a telethon or two. Let's see, I just had some more people come in. Andrew Prell, sir.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. I'm Andrew Prell, known Will for what's going on close to a year now, I guess. Met him first through Cat and then through a bullet whizzing by his head. And basically, I do video games. I've been doing video games my entire life since I was 12. And we have figured out how to remove customer acquisition costs from consumer games. And we look forward to making interactive content for whatever movies Big Picture comes up with.
Thank you, Prell. And for those that don't know, yes, Andrew Prell came and picked me up literally right after I had a gun fired at me and after the police left. And that was quite a traumatic moment. And then he gave me sanctuary at his house until I was able to fly out of there and back to LA. So that's a different story, different day. Sean Lee, introduce yourself, please, sir.
Very nice to meet everybody. My name is Sean Lee. I'm the CEO of Hara Networks. We do mesh technology, Wi-Fi, and then DPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure network for data centers. Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you, sir. Sean's a filmmaker also, by the way. Eddie George, the writer of my directorial debut that's going to happen after this telethon. Introduce yourself, sir. Doop, doop, doop. Eddie, you're on mute. Still on mute. Okay, I'm going to keep the flow going. So let's see. Anybody who has not introduced themselves, please introduce themselves because I'm dealing with scrolling through a phone.
Nick, you hear me?
Nick, yeah, Nick Principe.
I can't get the video up. Technology is not my forte. Yeah, Nick Principe, actor, stuntman of the last 20 some odd years with over 80 some odd credits. I've worked in private security on and off as the other gig, working for Guns N' Roses. I did some time with Guardian with a lot of hip hop guys, never doing that again. Presently, just out of pure boredom, I've been fighting amateur Muay Thai with 8-1 record. I actually lost my 0 last weekend. I've just been added to this project as of maybe 24 hours ago, but I've known Will for around 20 years. He is a diamond in an ocean of diarrhea that is Hollywood, and happy to be here.
I love you, Nick. And yeah, I hit up Nick for a bio for what I'm putting together. And him and Dave Sheridan go way back, as we all do. So he's now joining the amazing energy we have behind all this. So Fabian Alomar, who I know has been traveling. Fabian's one of my best friends and partners. Everybody saw him standing on Lookout Mountain with David Womark, Tommy Bean, and myself. David and Tommy cannot be on this. Joey Stanton, who has been my manager basically since we met, but I didn't even realize that, who's discovered some of the biggest stars in the world, still reps some of the biggest stars in the world, has guided me and walked me through all of this. And that's why I kept going every day. For those that said none of it was real, I had literally one of the men who manages all this stuff I've had to walk through, there with me in it. So there's been a lot of shaking the tree of life from all the negative and getting all the flies away from all of us, per se. There are some people that I invited on this call tonight that are dear partners and will be involved in this, that this was so last minute. I didn't even plan this. It just kind of happened this morning. Darren Cagg, who is in Cyprus, is somebody who is overseeing the marketing advertising deck that all of you will see. Brandon Scheineman and Daniel Seom, producing partners on the movie Gone Viral. Oddly enough, that we are also going to be making. That will be the last film I ever produce. And then after that, it's going to be doing the work that's been built through all of this with everyone. I don't know if Sam Harris is on here yet because there's so many faces and I'm on my phone.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, so there we go. Sam Harris, please introduce yourself, sir, and let the family here in the world, when this is seen, know exactly what you and I have been working on, what we've been doing with Don Bennett to bring forward. And then I'm going to give Steve the floor because we're tying the legacy that you have been the custodian of, just like all the legacies that I've been led for to be the custodian of, to literally the entire world. And the floor is yours. And then I'm going to shut up and really let Steve talk about his book and about a Zoom call that we had, which I'm going to release publicly so the world can see it. And also, one last thing I would like to say. You know, I did all of this and led this group with Malka Equities by initially meeting CJ O'Connor. I then went out during the entire month of March, which I spent in New York, with them truly getting to know me and who I was. Because a lot of people like to take credit for other people's work, hence the word plagiarism. And I'm not utilizing that in this case, but a lot of people took credit for the $13.5 billion offer that basically got led by Project Rise Partners and Malka Equities. And the men behind that, Moses Gross, the CEO, and his founding partners, Michael Orsini, the managing director, and literally CJ O'Connor, who I was introduced to through Aaron McIntosh and Lee Kaplan. And see, that's how it's all real. Legacies that were not me, that are great men and women that led this forward, connected all the funding. So I have had multiple conversations with Michael. And after we do this telethon, it is not going to be an issue literally stepping forward into the vision that I wrote about before I ever met Malka, that we can literally utilize in a non-depletion level to put not only a fund together, but an ecosystem that nobody can touch. That's an ecosystem of accountability, love, peace, forgiveness, and kindness.
Amen.
And that's all centered around the legacy that Tommy Bina has been the gatekeeper of, a place where literally not only Crosby, Stills, and Nash started, but the Doors basically became who they were. And I have been chosen with all of you to be literally the gatekeepers of that legacy. And it's all centered around doing a global launch, with the core foundation of that launch being the book, Spontaneous Evolution, that I did not even need to read a chapter of, but I read the back of the book. And I told Steve and Bruce when I met him, I hadn't even read the book, but I knew all of this was connected. And now everybody's going to know it's connected. And this group, through action, started by Barry. Barry and I were introduced by Larry Franco. And by that introduction, Barry went off and has done the tremendous work he has for literally supporting people with disabilities, working in the entertainment industry and beyond, but also shining a light in areas that are basically underrepresented. Martin Kleba, who is going to be on this today, who's starring with Dave Sheridan in the film that I'm directing, that I will be sharing tomorrow morning, a beautiful brand new IP ecosystem overview on, are my two leads. And Martin suffers from dwarfism, but it's not a suffering situation because he knows it's his life. And he's one of the leads of the Snow White film that's out right now and starred in Pirates of the Caribbean. And you see, I'm going back to my horror roots that made me who I was. And I have a story written by Eddie George, who's on this, but was having some technical difficulties. And that's, there he is. So 1 second, and then I want you to talk. So that script of Eddie's that he's going to talk about very briefly was given to me back in August, but I was so buried under everything else, by Scott Ross. Scott, who started a group called the Funky Bunch. You see, I've been saying publicly the relationships that I have, but nobody wanted to believe them. So now I'm going to show the world everything, everywhere, all at once. And we're going to raise a ton of money to give back to the earth to set everybody free. I'm going to shut up. Eddie, introduce yourself, and then Steve's got the floor.
Absolutely. I want to first say, hey, Robert, Bruce Chang, Bruce Long, and Melanie, nice to talk to you guys again. So Eddie George here, screenwriter. I first got connected to Will through my friend Scott Ross, as he just mentioned, who started the Funky Bunch with Mark Wahlberg, and Will was connected to Rasta Phil, and Scott and Rasta know each other. So like Will said, he was given a script last year, almost a year ago, from Scott, from me, a horror script. So we finally connected a few months back, and he came to Atlanta. We hung out for almost a week, spent some time together, did some rework on the script, which wasn't, we just tweaked it basically. So, and like he mentioned, he's going back to his horror roots because I created an original horror script, which I can assure you the story and content has never been done before in the genre. It's based off an urban legend, folklore story combined with cultism, but the folklore story is based off the Pukwudgie, which goes back many, many years ago from the Native American folk in Massachusetts. The only film that ever featured a Pukwudgie was the Harry Potter stories, and I created one where I made a Pukwudgie a killer and crossed it with cultism. So it's kind of, pardon the term, a mindfuck movie with the story. So it's pretty good. And as Will mentioned before to many people, because my forte is crime dramas, true crime, he said I wrote the horror script with a true crime mindset, which is true. When you read the script, it kind of has a true crime feel to it. But it's an original, I tell you that much, and a lot of people love it. So, and Will just absolutely adores it. And that's why he's taken it on to be his first directorial debut film. And I'm proud to have him on board. And I can't wait for you all to either read it or see the story.
Thank you, Mr. George. And some of the creatives involved in that IP that aren't on this call, Jim Kruger's overseeing the graphic novel. He is one of Sam Raimi's favorite comic book gurus. Tori Gamble here is going to oversee the video game side of that, if he'll bless me with it, with Andrew Prell and some other amazing people in the video game space. Who else? There's a list a mile long, so I'll send it. But Steve, take the floor, sir. Mr. Bhaerman.
Wow, what to say? Thank you for putting me on the spot. A funny thing happened about 2 months ago. I got a mysterious LinkedIn connection request from this gentleman who's been identified as a diamond in the sea of diarrhea. So that got my attention. I like that. I'm going to keep that one. And it was about...
it's an original, but go ahead. I'm happy to loan it out as you were. Continue. Forgive me.
No, I mean, he's the man. He, that's a perfect identity for, what Hollywood has been, and the potential of all of the tremendous talent and heartfulness that I'm seeing right here in these little pictures here. So anyway, he contacted me because I am the co-author with Bruce Lipton, who is a brilliant evolutionary biologist. He had written the best-selling book, The Biology of Belief. And Bruce and I applied his principle, which is that our beliefs determine our biology, have influence over our biology. The whole field of epigenetics is largely based on Bruce's work. And he and I got into a conversation. What if we took society's beliefs and we applied that same thing? How has society's beliefs, many of them invisible that we mistake for reality, how has that shaped the world that we're living in? So we published this book, Spontaneous Evolution, Our Positive Future, and the Way to Get There from Here, in 2009. So it's going to be almost 16 years. And Bruce and I, we were just talking about how this book is about 15 years ahead of its time. That, well, the new word, the situation that we're in right now as a world is calling for something radically different, something that hasn't been tried. And that is a radical cooperation that is based on what we know about biology. It's based on what we know about spirituality. It's based on what we know about psychology, and it's until now been untried. And it is a fractal evolution, meaning it takes place in the individual, in the family, in the community, in the nation, and in the world as a species. And rather than the top-down social media that's been imposed on us, we have the great opportunity to create that real global village that where we actually communicate horizontally rather than vertically, and we create these networks. There's another project I've been working on for 3 years that I can tell you about later, which is about symbiotic networks, and that's the practical extension of the work that Bruce and I started in 2009. So I wish Bruce could be on the call. He's in the midst of a whole lot of stuff, in the midst of travel. I'm sure he'll be on the next one. But I think what it was that sparked the interest in Will's interest in spontaneous evolution. It's the idea that there's this something that's been building that we all know is true. We are all connected. We are all one with the same one. And yet we have what my friend Richard Flyer calls the culture of separation that has pitted us one against the other. And in politics, that's the divide and conquer racket. And we see that happening all the time, where what if the 90% of us who are not sociopaths actually work with the values and virtues that we all share in common and were to stand for that, we'd be able to hold our system accountable. But we haven't had the coherence until now. So what I'm looking at when I hear Will, I've watched some of the videos, I've listened to what some of the people here and some of his other cohorts and compatriots have said, and I really think that this is the potential that we have right now to actually create coherence, not from the top down, but from the bottom up, from the realization of, wait a minute, we've been hoodwinked by a bunch of winking hoods, and it's time for us to gather together. So I should also tell you that most of my work for the past 35 years has been in the domain of comedy as a character, Swami Beyondananda. And the Swami is, it's basically a way of delivering. Swami's been called comedy disguised as wisdom and wisdom disguised as comedy. And so that work right this minute is I'm having what I'm calling my Love and Laughter Tour, which is designed to break the trance of separation, political polarization, and bring people together above the trance so that we can actually see from, levity lifts us up to a higher level, right? So from the higher level of levity, you can see the bigger picture. You can see how people have been divided, have been put into very narrow, competitive belief systems and memes. And I think finally we're now at the time where we have the wherewithal. Now we need the aware-withal, the awareness, to actually make this happen. And from what I've been hearing and from what I've been seeing from some of the work that Will has been doing, there is a great potential for having this happen right now.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Steve. I think Rocco Nugent, did you enter the room? I saw him pop up and then drop off. It's okay. Steve, thank you for that. And, you're spot on in everything that you're saying, because there are people that are still walking in this with me that when I was going through the path, right? Usually you have disagreements with people fall out due to other energies around them. And then we don't want to reconnect with those people based on things that happen in those moments. Sorry, I had to ignore a call. Tori, who literally helped me, and Tori, I want you to speak because you watched this and never gave up on me figuring it out. Tori and I got put through more of the chaos than maybe anybody else that had to go through this. Yin and Yang, also Sydney, who will join us on this adventure that we're about to go on, that I'm finalizing the pieces on. But Tori got baptized at my church. He got so inspired by what I was talking about. And, the devil was dancing around in the aspect of trying to disconnect us literally at all points and all costs, knowing the power that literally he welds and also I weld from a connective standpoint, but to also bring light into the world. So Tori, if you want to kind of share on some of your experience, because you and I, along with McLean and Pete Rivera, had the phone call with Malka Equities to put forward this entire incredible group of individuals on a platform that we had not fully built yet. And I want you to have the time because your voice got silenced in this initially by me. And those were mistakes that I made. And I want the whole world to know that because I was going through connecting pieces together of an entire lifetime that I have lived. There are people from when I was 6, 7, 8 years old involved in this. There are family of mine that are no longer involved in this because it was bigger than they could understand and they weld wealth as their power. So the floor is yours, Mr. Gamble.
Thanks. Well, yeah, it's been you know, just thinking back, you know, just all Will and I have been through. It's kind of incredible, actually. But you know, through I used to play pro tennis, and my brother played pro tennis. He was a pretty good player. I just had the chance to meet a lot of people, and we met a lot of people in the, you know, in the Hollywood world. You know, that they'd be in the players' lounges and stuff like that. You meet a lot of good key people, and so I have pretty good amount of contacts, and you know, Will has an amazing amount of contacts as well. And we, you know, we had a pretty cool location that we were able to meet people and set a ton of different meetings. And you know, it was just amazing to see all the real people that we brought through there. I mean, it was just, there was incredible, incredible kind of, you know, incredible people coming through there daily, and it's all people that Will knows, and all these, like, he, you know, he's just bringing in great people every single day. And you know, he's thinking ahead and seeing the entire big picture. And you know, he brings in, that's why it's big picture, I guess. But he's bringing that he believes in, that he knows they're going to do a great job in a certain space, or in, you know, he's, oh, this is you, and he gives you, you know, as much backing as he can to, you know, to help you succeed in what, you know, he thinks you're going to be great for. And you know, he supports you as much as he can. And then, you know, it's just kind of a good team thing. You know, I've literally seen all the pieces. You know, I've seen it all, and I was on that call. Like, I had, you know, I, like maybe some of you have had my doubts, you know, about this in the past, and it's hard to see a big dream. It's hard to see that, and you know, you got one guy who's realizing it and sees it in his head, and you know, it's hard for you to see that, you know. But I have been on those calls, and I've heard the numbers. I've seen these guys at least verbally commit to large numbers, you know. And so, you know, I think that you know, I believe in Will still, and you know, we have had our ups and downs, but I love the guy, and he's you know, one of my best friends, and I believe in him. So
Thank you, Tori. Sam Harris, are you still there, sir? Melanie, will you talk about our path to today and what you've been working on, and also what you have cooking in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where I'm doing everything possible to focus on us building a college of sports and media in partnership with that place?
So I met Will sometime last year. Feels like we're about to get our anniversary coming up here, Will. Through Rostafil, and Rostafil was just kept on telling me about his white friend Will, his white boy Will is like his son. He was like, this guy has got such a great dream that I would like to help him accomplish. And you know, he had told me that Will had some ideas, and then I finally joined one of the first earlier that I was part of Zooms, and I got to hear all the different people that he brought together. And that doesn't just happen, you know. And since then, like you guys had mentioned, he has throughout the time brought different people who all add key value and elements to building an ecosystem in production. And Atlantic City, like he mentioned, I signed a deal January 13 and went into place where we acquired a partnership with the 550,000 square foot facility that was a mall converted into a production studio and live event studio now on Atlantic City, which is on Caesars Pier. So it's owned by Caesars, but it's a 37-year master lease. My company is called Bar TV, which is an acronym for Brilliant and Resilient. I started as an on-air radio personality. Then I did an indie talk show that I just taught myself production with. Then I joined as production crew with 1619 Project Runway All Star Season 20. Bernie Madoff on Netflix, a few great projects, and I just kept on evolving through the world of production and filling any kind of void I can in that space. Then I did distribution. I currently have about 70 titles on Tubi, and yeah, so always evolving in this production world and always looking to build residual income for my family for generations to come, right? And then I
Amen.
have a story of my own, which will definitely is going to be able to help me bring to life. I did shoot an indie doc. I'm gonna drop a trailer too soon. But I do have a story I don't want to shock a bunch of you with and make this go a different way. But my story does have high value, and that'll be coming out soon one day too.
That's
They'll get to see why
That's
it
gonna
is.
be,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so what I want to do on this telethon, and we'll break off and I'll do kind of individual prep situations, but I want everybody to get to tell their stories of who they are, where they came from, the dancing in the dark that had to happen to literally find the light. One of my biggest mentors now in my life, Robert Russler. It's been one of the biggest blessings along this journey. And you see, I got led to a bunch of individuals that literally society says we're not the chosen ones because of what we've been through in our life. But guess what? I put the entire world together with Sydney L. Brocious. She has an invisible tattoo on her back that is literally showcasing that everything's connected. And she had to lead me. You see, because of who I was, I thought I was literally leading, but for 7 years, she led me. And that did start off in one form and then it evolved into another. We've been business partners and just business partners for the last almost 5 years. Me following behind her because she figured out the Jumanji game of life, like I like to call, when she was a young kid. And I was consciously asleep until I woke up to literally change and impact the world in the manner all of us are about to together. This was never about me. That's why I failed for so many years. I led with myself in mind and not my family or anybody else. And that version of me is dead and will never be born again. David McClendon, you met me during that version of my life.
I did.
Will you share with everyone the work that you've been doing long before I ever met you?
Sure. The bulk of my career has been in the theater. I was associate artistic director of the Old Globe Theater for many years, and I've directed at professional theaters all over the country. I was the artistic director of Theater Aspen and helped develop that. Though that's been the bulk for 35 plus years. That's what I've done professionally. I've also done some film. I've also done promotional and political videos. I just finished in August a documentary called Love Has No Borders. Years ago, I began doing volunteer work for an organization called Border Angels, which has been around for, almost 40 years now, and doing research for a project which is called Devil's Breath, which was a feature film that I wrote, and we were about to go. We were cast, Isai Morales, Eddie Olmos, some other folks, that we were beginning production in Mexico in late March of 2020 when COVID shut us down. And as a matter of fact, Will and I spoke with Isai earlier today, who's in Cannes getting ready to premiere the new, the last, I guess, Mission Impossible film. The documentary I made, Love Has No Borders. So I spent the good part of the last 3 years in refugee camps, shelters in northern Mexico around Tijuana. And I discovered, and what I wanted to do was tell the story of Border Angels, its people, and those that it serves. One of the amazing things that I learned over that time and spending in some really not so great environments, but hopeful and joyous environments in many ways, was that we think of it's folks from the Americas, from El Salvador, from Guatemala, no. I mean, there are people from China. There are people from Africa. There are people from the Caribbean. There are people, a lot of Russians that are there, probably now a numbering around 300,000 just in the Tijuana area alone, and which I began doing volunteer work for them, going into the desert and the mountains to leave water and food for those crossing. They're still doing that work because of the current administration. When they were there before, it's a very difficult time. And the purpose of the film is to make awareness and also to help them bring in some money. And I'm very proud of the work. We finished it, finished post-production in August, and it was premiered at the San Diego Symphony Hall in November. And I had talked to Will about Devil's Breath, and it looks likely that we're going to make it in the next few months.
Yes,
maybe
sir.
year.
And David, that foundation that you oversee as one of the people involved in it will be one of the main partnered foundations out front, along with Action Through Action. So thank you, sir. Mr. Buell, will you share with the world your work and your relationships as it relates to global brands?
Right. Well, ironically, just like David mentioned, we did a lot of work with the inner city and depressed areas, like for the Boys and Girls Clubs. And these were fundraisers to champion fundraising for the purpose of building more Boys and Girls Club, what have you. And on one of the locations in Indianapolis, Indiana, when we were filming, we actually had police guards bring us in with our equipment to film in this particular Boys and Girls Club. And when I was in there, there was a little black boy who was very interested in the camera work I was doing. So I let him have a chance at it. And, I had my camera on a dolly, of course, with focus and then zooming handles. And he was just a natural at it. And that night when I went to my hotel room, I cried for this boy, because when we left, the police came back and guarded us. When they left, they just walked out in this element that they didn't even know if they're going home. So what I realized, I wanted to do something. So I started the Film Group Foundation for Humanity, where it would present to inner city kids or depressed areas the chance for kids to learn the trade in the film industry. And as Steve was mentioning, and Tori, it's amazing the communication we can have, and the best is through audio visual, like we're doing right now, on our monitors, what have you, even though some aren't showing up as well. But we wouldn't know each other unless we were neighbors. It's the best communication in the world. And, Will's got it targeted through audio and visual, through music and film. We can change the world for the better. And like Steve said, we get them, even if we get them to laugh a little while we're at it. But we've got to, create a synergy with all the people of like mind to really change the world and get politics out of life.
Yes, sir. I'm glad. I want to say something that's a little dark where I'm at. But I want to say something about specifically that. And let me turn on a light. Hang on. There we go. That's better. Hi, guys. So basically, the plan for this is we're going to do a telethon. I'm not going to announce the dates on this. We're going to save that. But basically, during the month of July, it's going to start with the telethon first for 2 days. If Sam Harris is on here, he will talk about the main IP that we're going to build the telethon around, in addition to Steve and Bruce's book. That's then going to lead into a 3-day music festival. And guess what? I have better relationships in the movie world. Well, the music world, as does Tori, as does Melanie, as does everybody on this call. And that music festival is then going to lead into an international film and comedy festival. The comedy festival is going to be overseen by literally my friend Holden and my friend John Rudnitsky, who literally was on Saturday Night Live until he was fired over exactly what you said, politics within government structure, when it's literally art as comedy that people were offended by. And I'm not going to talk for him anymore on that. So that event will literally end with the launch of the Lucelle streaming platform, because when you hold a film festival, movies get submitted to you, movies across the entire world, enough to literally launch the foundation of a streaming platform literally overnight that is already built and has been, because I met somebody who believed in it and believed in getting to an ending that was able to fund it. Because you see, everybody that's involved in this didn't lead with greed. At points, I thought they were only all about the money, but then God showed me that they were not. The creator. I'm even started refraining from even using various words in a certain capacity due to how societies use it to oppress people. And that's not what I do. But basically, everybody believed in something as one collective ecosystem, no bigger than themselves, an entire group of people. And the people that literally led that, some of those people in the past, and I'm not saying one of these is worse than the other, but I've been shown a thing or two. You see, there's people that were former made men in the mafia that are now overseeing our mafia division that literally committed the act of murder, just like God kills people when there's tornadoes, hurricanes, and earthquakes. And every single person that led with greed, just like I've been battling greed to literally own a studio, is no longer left standing. This, those that said, oh, they'd show up when the money was there. Well, guess what? The money's going to be there and they're not going to be a part of any of this. We will literally help everybody. But there's the leaders and then there's the followers. And when you just follow money, it's literally the downfall of your life. And I want to talk right now and give the floor to Bruce Chang, because Bruce and I had to be homeless together to do all of this. After I raised the money to buy Paramount, I spent the end of October, the month of November, the month of December, Christmas and Thanksgiving, January, February, all the way until I literally got on a plane and went to New York in March with no home. And Bruce and Tommy Bina, you see why the Canyon Country store and that legacy has been brought to us is because Tommy's been playing that Jumanji game for 40 years, finding people with the right intentions to literally help take the legacy of art and entertainment. And I'm convinced that's where the tree of life is, where the creatures meet, like Jim Morrison sings. You see, Tommy Bina met a couple creatures at the Canyon Country store. Fabian came in and signed the wall. His signature is next to Steven Tyler's, Beverly D'Angelo's, and others. And him, myself, Bruce, Sydney from a distance, and Joey Stanton from a distance, and David Womark led forward a group of individuals that now get to take that legacy global. We own, with the leaders in this, 7 parcels of land in America and outside of America. That's why this was never just about the United States, because the left and the right, which, by the way, I have deeply connected both the left and the right on all sides of this with everybody, but this is about the world. And that's why we're doing this on a global scale. So, Bruce, and also share some of what you created in the Jumanji game of life that you didn't get to partake in due to other people's intentions and actions. This is the time.
Well, when I first met you, I told you I grew up Mormon. I don't practice anymore, but I shared some of my ideas that were unicorn ideas, and yeah, I helped come up with Skull Candy. It was my first company that I helped create, and there was like Uber Eats, Postmates, Lime Scooters, and then Stan Socks, and then Weed Maps, yeah. But
Hey, Bruce, what did I have on the day that you met me? Because the way that I connected all this together was by following articles of clothing down to license plates and other things. What was I wearing?
you were wearing Stance underwear.
Thank you
We
very
met
much.
at the beach, and yeah, you told me that was your favorite brand of socks and underwear. Yeah, but the logo is the Argyle pattern in dress socks. Yeah.
When Bruce and I met, guys, it was 2 days before I got in a car and drove cross country to try to raise money to buy Paramount, which everyone told me I was crazy on. And he kept in touch with me because you see, you get connected to somebody and it's up to the connectivity of just communicating. And sometimes that's through literally arguments, but every single thing is a piece of information to take away. And that's all connected to biology and science, Mr. Behrman. I understand that. You guys even talk about that
Yeah.
in your book. And
Basically, I when I first met William, uh, like I I did most of the talking, and then I kind of kept in touch with William, but not too much. But I just kind of decided to call him out of the blue, and that's when I found out he told me I inspired him to uh, get funding for the purchase of Paramount. And I knew he was like leaving, but I didn't know what was happening until I called him, and and it was pretty much I guess the next day, right?
yes, sir.
Yeah. So it was kind of odd. I was at an inkling of calling him up to see how he was doing, and that's what he told me. So uh, he was driving back, and we reconnected, and it's been quite a crazy adventure. Yeah.
Yes, it has. And Bruce did every single day of this with me from pretty much the time I got back. There was like this pass off from Tori and the leading to that to Bruce. Even one of the last days that I saw Tori, Bruce was there. I didn't realize the levels of the Jumanji aspect that I'm talking about. I mean, Larry Franco, who helped me literally sit down and put the vision for it at Piney Woods School. Larry produced Jumanji. I mean, it's his movie. And so I've come to understand, things that the Bible's not the only guidebook in life. All of the art in the world is creation. Everything that's around us, what we're talking on is creation. And you see, Bruce was involved in the creation of companies now that are global, impactful, creative pieces of the world, just like we're about to do with all of this. And I would like to leave Mr. Long. Thank you for your grace, sir. Bruce, can you talk about your background and some of the work you do, especially on the foundation and charity sides that you were involved in?
Yeah, man. Sure.
Thank you.
So I kind of, much like a lot of you, I have my fingers in a number of different pots. And so in addition to kind of independent producing theater, I also have a nonprofit that focuses exclusively on Christians that are in the theater arts is the current name of the organization, CETA. It's kind of I like to think of it more as a foster church than anything else. It initially started as a networking opportunity way back in the 80s, but has morphed over time. And so we do, during the COVID, we fed a lot of people. We provided, cash to pay for rent or groceries, a number of different utilities, just to kind of make sure that artists that were actors and writers, those are who I'm doing creatives, that were kind of under our umbrella, made sure that they were able to transition into something else because, of course, the theater industry shut down. And so I've been doing that kind of work since the mid 90s. I'm the volunteer executive director for that. And so I do a lot of that kind of work. We also produce high school based theater festivals where students come in and compete. And essentially, it's an opportunity in a competition style to learn how to audition for college admissions as well as early stage career opportunities. So a lot of focus on individual work there. So I do a lot of high school work, college level work with the local community college, and I do a lot of that kind of stuff. So there are some big dreams and other things that Will and I have talked about over time. Love it. I'd love to, have a space where we could potentially produce, some of this burgeoning playwrights and performers' work. I think it would be idyllic to have educational space. I have a dream of starting an arts high school boarding school, and potentially even starting some sort of conservatory for, post-secondary education, graduate level kind of work. Um, there's a lot of intrigue on my part on some of the plans that he has put together for that. I have on the producing side, I have a whole portfolio of IP, a lot of it based on three main tenets, which are not unique to me at all. You've probably heard these, but my criteria for um, stories that I would like to tell is good, beautiful, and true. I believe I've found a way to quantify those three elements, some objectively, some subjectively, and some a hybrid between the two. But a lot of those are kind of based on stories that are good and beautiful and true. And then to unpack that just a slight bit more, I think there is a horrible kind of perception that we Christians tend to perpetuate about storytelling, which is that stories have to have, a happy ending. That the ancient Greek way of telling stories with Deus ex machina coming in is the right way. You just say a prayer, you just become a Christian, and all of a sudden all your problems go away. But I think that there is goodness and beauty and truth along an entire spectrum. So I think there is room for adult stories, if you will. I know what that sounds like, but you get the idea.
Nah,
So,
you're spot on though, Bruce.
Yeah.
You're spot on, man.
Well,
so there's that. That's kind of what I'm all about. So I'm a melting pot of ideas, but I want to tell stories that are good, beautiful, and true. And I want to help the future generation of artists, find their place in this world. That's the bottom line.
Thank you, Bruce. Sean Lee, will you talk about your technology, sir, and why we partnered? Because obviously, if I'm building a studio ecosystem around the world with or without Paramount, I have the ability to actually do that and the funding. Can you talk about what you have created and also some of your film and TV work over the years?
I met Will through his former film school roommate. Michael Neese is a mutual friend of ours. Got introduced to Will. I run a public Wi-Fi outdoor, but also indoor router. But it's not your typical indoor router. Yeah, it's a technology that has developed from University of Cambridge Mesh Networking Laboratory to solve one question: why is half the world not connected? And so,
sorry, Sean. Danny, I'm putting you on mute. Keep going, Sean.
So we took that same concept, which was solved at the University of Cambridge. It took 10 years. And then we found out that the challenge of connecting those that are not connected isn't just hardware issue, it's a software issue and a human issue. And so we built all the software to minimize the hurdles of a average individual or a person or a entrepreneur or a group running a mesh network, a telecom network. So we created an indoor router that is connected to a edge cloud data center. It's a completely decentralized technology. And then we built a blockchain layer on top of it that's connected to a tokenized ecosystem. I won't get into it deeply, but it's the greatest thing right now in blockchain is what's called a DPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure network, and that's what we are attempting to do to decentralize data centers via connectivity. And then allow people to earn revenues from that by sharing resources, connectivity and data center resources. So that's what we do. I'm excited about, working with Will, especially to, figure out human problems, right? I come from the more technical technology side of it, and wanting to be part of the solution here. So
thank you,
from
Sean.
this.
No, keep going. I was gonna say, take it back off of mute. Hang on, because I want to set you up for something. Also, the work that you're doing in the clean energy and water space, it's very important. Clean energy and clean water, because that's going to create a self-sustainable grid for us at every single one of our compounds moving forward.
Yeah, I won't go too deep, but we have some technologies that we have licensed from very special inventors on hydrogen power, and then some very unique battery technology. We haven't completely revealed it yet, but I'm part of a group that is bringing all these technologies together in the renewable space. We also have a technology that purifies water, both from brackish water to humidity in the air. I know there are other technologies there, but we have incorporated together with a renewable energy with connectivity. So it's a unique solution that can be dropped and shipped anywhere around the world. So we're working with those two technologies here.
Thank you, Sean. Chris, gentlemen, will you let the world know how we met? And also, since you're one of my gatekeepers of consumer goods, what you've got cooking, and also talk about your wife's space in the educational world, please.
All right. I'm Chris Gentleman. I met Will at about 5:30 on July 29th in the LA airport. I was just talking to some people on the airplane flying to the Philippines, and he was getting off the plane, and I didn't know he had even been listening to my conversation. And I stepped off the plane and walked out into the main foyer to go deal with customs and all that, because I was flying to the Philippines, and he stopped me and we swapped cards. And I'll be honest, it was one of those things, he caught me off guard, and I was like, okay, cool, thanks for the card. And it hit me on the way. I had 14-hour flight to the Philippines, and I sitting there praying, and I realized that it wasn't by coincidence that we were on the same plane. I mean, I live literally 30 less than 20 miles from his parents, and grew up in the same area, same stomping grounds, and so we connected. And then the fires happened, and I lost contact with him for about 4 or 5 months, I guess. And I just said, you know what, God, you put the vision there, you got us talking. And I just prayed for everybody with the fires, because in Florida, I mean, we have fires here, but y'all definitely had some issues out there. And I didn't know anything. And I sat blank for, I guess, probably 4.5 months. And then I just kept texting him every which way I could think of it, and just praying for you, brother. Hope you make it through, whatever. And all of a sudden, he popped back up and into my world again. So I'm glad to be on board.
Yeah, go for it, Chris. I was going to guide you into, what do you do?
Yeah. What basically I did was, I used to be a regional and worked for some mega corporations, Carrabba's, Sonny's, Kona Ice, Taco Bell's. I've been in food pretty much since I was 5 years old. So food is my passion. That's why I'm a big boy. And I just kind of left Kona in 23 and started my own company, and finally just pulled the trigger, and I started mixing and working with companies all over the country, developing my own, what now has turned into, I'm at 36 flavors of shaved iced teas, lemonades, 24 flavors of gourmet hot chocolates, coffees, my own cold brews. I have 7 licensed coffees now. And we're getting ready to roll out 36 new energy drinks, clean energy drinks, partnering with a company called Monin here in Florida. So we're constantly creating new mixologies, and so I'm a food and beverage guy. And he's like, dude, we need you on board because a lot of events have food. And I come from a pastoral background. It was awesome hearing some of the guys here just recently talking. I was a sergeant major for the Salvation Army, mass feeding, shelters, and all that. So it's exciting to hear that a lot of us have the same passion and same dream to help people know at the end of the day who God is and where we're going and what direction we're going and offering the world a better taste of what's happening. My wife's also, she was a convention planner for 13 years for a small college, the University of Florida here in Florida. And then she became a school teacher. Now she's a dean, getting ready to go to assistant principal. And so we have a lot of possibilities of, we've owned a not-for-profit and taught exotics in the schools and creation in schools. And there's such a need of so many different things within the education system. As we see, it's falling apart around us. And so the kids and the nation and educating them through the gift of speaking the sound and the light that even in Genesis 1, God created light, and before that he spoke it. So to see what Will's doing, it was a very easy plug in for me to say, you know what, I'm behind you however I can. And so we're excited to be on board and see where God takes us.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to kick the floor. Somebody else I met randomly. Kavi, if you'll take it off of mute. Kavi's my assistant and a lot more than that. And if you'll share with everybody how you and I met when Robert Russler, myself, Bruce Chang, Josh Berman, and a couple other people were having dinner one night at the W, which I conducted out of business when I was homeless and went there every day, pretty much day and night. And then Bruce and I would go hang out at Denny's. And some nights I didn't know where I was sleeping. So I just wandered around the streets of LA. Let the world know how we met and who you are, please.
Hello, I'm Kavi. So yeah, I met Will at STK. I work there. I do like hosting. And yeah, I met him. He came in with some associates and he had a really cool vibe. I'm a pretty social person, so we were talking, and after he had dinner, he kind of like we exchanged information, and yeah, I was just like, this guy is bold. I was like, I like him. He's interesting. And I was like, he got a little seasoning too. I was like, he's not a regular white guy. He's a little spicy. And so, yeah. And then we connected, and he definitely was there for me when I needed like a place to stay and just like, to hear my story and just to kind of like be there. And so I appreciated that. And I never met someone who could talk so much. And I'm a good listener. So I did, enjoy hearing his whole vision and seeing like how passionate he was. And so we definitely kept in contact, and yeah, he's been in my life
Thank
ever
you.
since. So
Thank you, Kavi. And I do talk a lot, but guess what? The only way that I built all this was also by listening. So here we are.
Can I share one more thing? Because I need to. I'm one of those foodies too, and dinner is coming, so I need to be. I need to
I'm
go to my
sorry,
dinner
Steve.
date. But no, I really, what I recognize about you, Will, and listening to all these folks, you've heard about 6 degrees of separation. You're 1 degree of separation. You're 1 degree of separation to very creative people, very diverse. I mean diverse in political points of view, in religious points of view, and I think everybody here, I could feel this commonality around the heart, around wanting to serve people, wanting to be servants of people, self-giving rather than self-serving, and I am excited to be part of this, however it develops, whatever develops. I can feel that, in this group of people, there is positive intention coming from so many different areas, and I think it's that level of diversity of views, for one thing, that is going to make this happen. So I
Thank
could
you.
hang on another few minutes, but just wanted to let you know. So
Oh, it's all good. We're gonna keep going because I want the obviously this is being recorded because the world's gonna get to hear who the people were. Since one of the things that got said about Project Rise Partners was we had no leadership, so the world's getting introduced to some of our leaders. So even if you drop off, we're gonna keep this going until I get to introduce everybody that's on this Zoom call. So I'm gonna kick it over to Miss Kat Nowak. You're on mute, Kat. Oh. Oh. This is the Rasta Phil moment from the Piney Woods call. Here, Kat, hang on. Kat, I'm gonna come back to you. I'm gonna come back, Kat. Rick Walker, if you'll give me your bright smile, sir. There you are. Hi. And then if you could talk about your legacy as a radio pioneer as well, because look, man, Trump came out today. Listen, I support our president. He's our president. But he started going after I think the radio industry. So will you enlighten the world on who you are, the work we're doing together, some of your documentary work? And also I know Mr. Danny Falcone's on here, so I'll kick it to him next because that's who introduced us. Who are you, Rick Walker?
Yes, so I've been doing a radio since I was a kid, long time. I just actually had just the other day my 45th anniversary of being on the air on May 12th. So I'm kind of excited to still be in an industry that's been very, very difficult to survive in. I've done morning shows from New Orleans to Philadelphia, Houston. I'm from Oklahoma City originally. And I still have a current show on a rock station there. We play Metallica, and we've had a #1 and #2 audience for. I've been on that show for 34 years now, and Rick and Brad, and so I'm the Rick part of that. During the part of what I figured out I loved when I would get off the air at 10 o'clock every day was I had nothing to do, and I really loved this creative process. And I thought, what am I going to do with the rest of my day? I'm done at 10 a.m. and most people are just having their coffee. And so I started writing, I started producing, I started directing with short films and figuring out how to do that. And in the years since, I have directed 9 features, all indie features. I've sold a few screenplays. I've written 31 scripts and also done some pretty interesting documentaries. We worked with the guys on The Secret and did a follow-up to that DVD series called Beyond the Secret with a lot of the same people and some new people on there. The late Bob Proctor was, of course, leading the charge on that, but Les Brown and Mary Morrissey, a lot of great people in there. I tried to figure out one day, what is it that weaves through everything I do? Because it's so, I mean, just like Bruce, like you were saying, it's so random how we're this hodgepodge of things, but there is this stream that is the creative process that literally I love beginning a radio show every day or having a blank canvas or a blank sheet of paper and typing fade in, and that colon just stares at you and goes, okay, what do you got? Let's see what you got. Make up characters, make this movie work, make this story work, blend it all together, create arcs, do all the stuff. And I love that. That serves me so well. And even on the set, many of you guys have been on sets and produced things and know it's duct tape and Excedrin to get it done. Yes, there's a schedule, but yeah, that's not always how we have a schedule in our morning show. And the thing that provides for us is just like a stand-up comedian. Some friends of mine told me one time is that you have a set list that allows you to ad lib, that allows you to wing it, that allows you to write and be creative and have fun because you can always get back to the main road. If you don't have a main road, you're all over the place and you'll never escape. You'll never have an airport to land that plane. And so that's part of the creative process, is like being business smart about it. Let's set this up. Let's do this the right way and structure it. And now we're free. We're free to roam and do it. So that's what I do. And to segue into Danny, one of the things that has been a really interesting process is meeting a guy that was in my own backyard that I didn't know about for 30 years. And this guy, we're about to talk to him if he wants to, but off the grid, and we collaborated and made a docuseries about his story. Now, what he has been off the grid from is something that Will alluded to earlier, and that is he is a mob soldier. He was one of the enforcers, if not the enforcer, for the Lucchese crime family in New York. And he was hard to track down. He was hard to find. He was hard to get in front of a camera. But somehow everything in the universe aligned, and we were able to film this really lengthy compendium of his life and crime in his life since then. And how you talk about a 180-degree turn. This guy has helped more people since he got out of that life than anyone can imagine. But his name's Danny Falcone. He's on here listening right now. And we've become interesting partners and buddies and friends, and fought and made up, and been just like a great collaboration team over the years. So I love that. I've got feature films in the cannon ready to shoot out. We've got screenplays. We got all kinds of cool stuff going. And I'll stop here, Will, but I have this
the AI marketing. You got to talk about AI marketing.
That's what I was going to say. It's part of the creative process. So I also have a marketing agency. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. And once AI started getting out about a year or two ago, I met with some guys that I know that know how to code and know a lot about AI. And I said, I just want to be able to get to the people who will buy my product or watch my movie, whatever it is. I want to get to them instead of this hope marketing that we all do, where we go, oh, interest on Facebook or TV ads or whatever, and cross your fingers. So we developed a thing called Exact Audience. And what it does is finds activity online, search website visits, social media comments, that kind of thing, grabs all the activity, and then it goes into databases where the IP is now, and finds the people doing the searching, puts it on a spreadsheet, sends it to you. And what skip trace it does, it skip traces across 71 databases to find these people. And the real short, and I'll stop, the short version, if you find someone via IP address, it could be somebody in the house.
And I was before he jumps, Mr. Bhaerman, myself and Rick Walker are going to turn your book into a movie, sir. Yeah. And the first foundational cornerstone of that is literally this telethon. And then that telethon is going to continue into the stories we're going to tell, connected to the words that you and Bruce wrote.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. But this data is like so specific that it is literally, my wife showed up on one thing that we were tracking one day. I'm like, oh my God, there's Holly, and there's her cell phone and her email and it's got 50 points of data across. So you can get a hold of people now and get your marketing in front of them through whatever, ads, cold email, it's got all the cell phones and everything. But it is great. And I just used it on a recent film that I have called Guardians, which is the one with Eric Roberts as a preacher and really good in this. And it's a really intense faith-based movie, which is like you guys were talking about that a while ago, Bruce. And I'm like, I've got one of those and it's on Prime right now. But we found people that had a proclivity for those kind of movies. They liked Eric Robert movies. They they also subscribed to Prime, put it all together, ran an email campaign to them, and poof, viewers, downloads, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I'll stop there.
What is the name of that movie, Rick? What is the name of that movie, Rick?
Guardians.
It's called Guardians.
Guardians. Okay, I'll check it out. Okay, gotta go. Namaste. Namaste. See you soon.
Stay on.
Gang. Bye.
Thank you.
I will mute myself
Bye.
now. That's enough.
You're good. And I'm going to kick it. Kat, before you leave, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Sorry about that. So my name is Catherine. And since I was a little girl, I used to tell my mother, I don't know, Mom, I feel like I'm going to change this world one day. So, at like 5 years old, I'd be out there on the playground and I'd be bringing all the people, all the kids in there, and I would pretend I was April. So we had the Ninja Turtle acts and all that. And I just really loved connecting with everyone, honestly. I'd always be that kid. They're like, stop talking so much. And I noticed that throughout my life, I wanted to switch different careers. I always wanted to be a student of the universe. So I went into a modeling industry. I went into a little bit of film. Then I went into a mother. My biggest role of my life is always going to be a mother. I take that as a protector, a guardian, and really feeling for people no matter what. massive empath, just seeing things in that vision, you know. So fast forward, I even got into a little bit of real estate and things, have a license in that, want to be Monopoly woman. And engineer mind. So I think I've done every industry. I'm a massive disruptor, but in the fact that I came back recently to God and saying that we are all one or we are none. And what we are doing right now to our children and what we are allowing to play out on TV and what we're not saying and what our voices are being silenced for far too long in every industry is that we are all a not of a helping hand, but a hand up in life. I didn't ask for that. I actually asked for this at exact moment at this exact time in my life. I don't regret one single move or one single part of why I'm here because I wouldn't be here if I changed a single thing. So to wake up and realize as I read the Bible and God has personally saved me, wow, what a beautiful time right now that we all have to understand that God is, for me, it's love. It's ultimately a creator. You know, the God I see in you is the God I see in me, and ultimately brings back down that fundamental understanding of love, that higher frequency, that Christ consciousness, not that your God's better than. So here I am. So I knew I had to take storytelling with that blockchain because I wanted to actually show receipts and that because I was connecting so quick, I couldn't even pick up the, what I was connecting. So I was like, this is going to be a great way to, see, the contract being done in the end. Because all I want to do is connect with humanity. So, yeah, I just love people. I'm a storyteller at heart. So here I am with all of you and just super, super grateful. Now I just want to go continue to plant seeds and water one another and continue with this understanding of life and the real meaning of it, the real meaning.
Thank you, Kat,
Thank you.
for that. Mr. Danny Falcone and then Alex Kellerman. Danny, who Rick gave you a great introduction. So, and you're on mute. Here, I can take you off mute since you're driving.
Thank
Hang
you.
on. Hold on. Thank you, Kat. Danny, I'm taking you off mute. Just push the button.
That's awesome.
If you can. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, everybody. I'm Danny. I'm sorry I missed a few people. I was, on Tuesday nights I teach a class, so I jumped on as soon as I finished there. So out of all the people I heard so far, very interesting stuff. But I love this guy Chris. He's got shaved ice.
Right.
I'm a shaved ice man. So I kind of been I've been blessed that I kind of have two different lives. And my first life, as you guys already spoke about, has been in the mob. I was born into that life with my dad and my uncles and everything, and did a lot of bad things. When I changed my life, I pleaded guilty to 7 murders and all mob stuff, and so I drew that whole gambit. But the only thing that I've changed my life completely over the last 34 years. My life is dedicated to helping people, and that's all I do every day is help people. I'm in recovery. I'm 34 years sober, and I've been blessed because when I left that life, there's only one thing that's from my old life to this life, and that's I've been in the restaurant business over 40 years. So I've had many different restaurants all over the country, and I still have a restaurant today. I have Italian restaurants, have breakfast places, have gourmet burger places, delis, all kinds of different things. Anyway, that's the only thing that stays with me from my old life to this life. And I'm also a foodie, like a couple of you guys have talked about. So I love that stuff. And I started writing. I had a passion for writing ever since I've been a kid, but never pursued it. I started writing about 25 years ago, and I've probably got a dozen scripts. I've got a dozen published novels out, and I got a lot of scripts. I got TV shows. A lot of stuff that hopefully, you know, Will likes most of them, and hopefully we'll
All of
start
it.
doing them. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to doing whatever you guys got going. I'm all in with you, Will. You know that I told you that. So,
Thank you, Danny.
you know, whatever you need me for, I've been so blessed because I never had a job in my life until I was like 34 years old. I'm 67 now. And my first job, you know, I never had a job, but I started legitimate things after I left the life of the mob. And I've been very successful I started a online wholesale clothing company in the late 90s where nobody was in the clothing business online except for me, two other people for about 6 years. We had, if you look for wholesale clothing company online, there were three of us came up. And so, you know, I built that to a very successful business. And one year, my sales dropped from over 3 million to 700,000. I went, what the heck happened? And I typed ladies wholesale clothing, and 10,000 hits came up. It was time to get out of that business. But I've been successful in that. I've been very successful in restaurants always. And I've been successful in the real estate business. And I also do motivational speaking. And the rest of the time is dedicated to helping people change their life, you know, find God and get spiritual and do different things like that. So that's what I do today. And now all of this stuff that I've got written, hopefully we could start making something with it. Rick did a great job in doing the documentary on my life, Mob Soldier. That came out really well. And then it's going to be even better. Go ahead.
Danny, I'm going to have Tori come up with an idea for a video game around that too, along with Andrew Prell. And I want to use you as the character in that since you're connected to Legacy IP and you are Legacy IP. Just because I want to be able to give everybody time. I'm going to kick it over to our boy, Alex Kellerman. And Alex, you know, when I brought you to the Canyon Country store and then literally sent you off to come up with an idea on it, and then literally sent me an email, you're like, hey, we don't have paper on this. I promised you a public, basically, account of what that is. So I brought Alex Kellerman in to take literally all the legacy connected to the Canyon Country store, all 100+ years of it, to come up with an idea for an anthology series that can also be a standalone series called Canyon Country Stories. And he has written one hell of a treatment that basically is going to be one of the first pieces of IP that we fund to make. He'll be the co-showrunner of that with a legacy too, connected to many big shows that I'm not going to talk
I'm
about
done,
on this
right?
call. Yeah, you're done, Danny.
Okay.
And Alex, also, if you'll let the world know when you take it off mute, what you host pretty much nightly that I don't know has close to 2 million followers now on Instagram because you tell the news in a way that only you have come up with. And that's going to be a platform as well on our streaming platform moving forward. When we launch all of this with this telethon, you missed the beginning. I'll send you the recording. But when you came back into my life, I knew where this was all heading. So the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Alex Kellerman. I am social media famous for reporting the fucking news. My show's called The Fucking News, and it's a place for people to just get the fucking news with no opinion and no bias. So, that said, what I write, I'm a writer and an actor. That's where I came up. And I hate the state of the world. And, you know, reporting the news just solidifies how awful so many things are for so many different people. And so what I write, when I write film and television, I try to write escapism. So I read a lot of comedies and dark dramas, and I just came off of the most recent season of Dexter Original Sin, which was my foray into television since I've been working on movies for the last few years. I have a movie that is a original superhero feature coming out later this year. I'm hoping for a small theatrical release, but it'll probably just end up on streaming. And Will was one of the first people who, before I ever made my first movie, was one of the first people who read one of my scripts and really dug it and really gassed it up and almost put it together. But of course, circumstances beyond his or anybody's control prevented that from happening. And then he contacted me recently and said he wants to start it back up. So hopefully we'll be making that movie, Josh and Davey's Psychedelic Jungle Journey, which is a R-rated sex comedy along the lines of American Pie meets Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And he asked me to write to come up with an idea that could sort of bring the whole Canyon Country stories together. So I wrote a treatment that I think is I thought it was pretty good. So
It's really good. Really
thanks. Thanks. So hopefully, hopefully we're working on TV and movies together very soon.
I wanted to follow up and just say that, I've come to understand why basically, I went to film school to direct because I had visions. I believed in people when I was there. I thought I was in control of money and my path. So then I basically got off what I feel like was the chosen path for me. And I basically stared at all these mirrors for 20 years of filmmakers that I used my relationships, my resources, and my access to funding consistently. If you look at my career, I am a public figure from the movies that I have produced. And you see, I feel like God rewards us with karma when we go against basically God's will and God's path. That's called free choice and free will. And I did that collectively for 20 years. And I look at RZA from Wu-Tang as one of the final oracle pieces of that, because I have not for the life of me been able to produce a movie despite having massive A-listers attached at points, the funding in place every single time. I would either have something that where I'd leave the film after getting it set up. But my last credit was Cutthroat City because I completed the character, because we're all playing characters in lives, like the movie Avatar, in my opinion. I completed the character that was being a producer. And through doing that, I still have access to all of this IP that was never made over the course of the last literally 8 years. I made Cutthroat City in 2017. It came out in 2020. And because I have all of that IP, I have enough IP with the right funding, which I now have the financiers for, to literally overnight, at the drop of a dime with that money in place, to launch an entire new generation of filmmaking talent that I have led forward with all of you and people that aren't on this call. And that's all happening. There are literally contracts in place, signed with people. And you see, I had to be the only person on this because I was the one battling all of those levels of life. But I found all of the partners that have become my family as I sat with my parents literally inside that house who just reunited, true loves after 50 years, terrible relationships. Both of them were in through that. Their story of their life is being published in a local magazine here that I will happily share to the world, and I'm going to turn into a movie one day, because the ending of their journey is the beginning of everybody on this call and mine. And I want to keep this flowing, but that's why. So for everybody that's known me, that I literally put true intentions behind and failed on getting literally those films made and other people's dreams to come true. Now I can make mine come true with everybody else's at the same time. And that's what this is. And I wanted to bring all of you amazing humans together, including our head of video games, Andrew Prell. The floor is yours. And I want to kick it to Bill Boyd to talk about some of what this telethon can be, because he has overseen a lot of them through the years. Prell, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. I really don't know what all to talk about other than the fact that
your history of video games and what you've done and what we're going to do and what's coming.
All right. Well, I started out in video games back when I was 12. I have been in virtual reality since 1988 with Autodesk. I created the first U.S. manufactured virtual reality arcade system, second one in the world, back in '92. We created Wolfenstein VR there, Xenomorph, Cybertag, and a few other things. We also figured out the networking issues, and I taught that with Cybertag. We took Wolfenstein VR and made Cybertag. I taught John Carmack how to make it multiplayer, and he went and created Doom. So from that company, I got involved with a guy by the name of Frank Ballou. He took me under his wing and introduced me into the industry. And that pretty much brought together our team at this point, which had names on it, such as the late Bernie Stoller, who was the president of Atari, president of Mattel Interactive, president of Sega. He created the Dreamcast, but he passed back in June of 2022. Anyway, we also got David Bishop on board, who was the chief operating officer of Bandai Namco USA, Kevin Williams, who created Disney Quest, John Canning, which many of you may know. I'm just, names run right out of my head when I go to think of them, but I'm struggling here.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, you gave a pretty good rundown.
Yeah,
of
so I can go on and on about our team. We have figured out how to remove customer acquisition costs from consumer games is our phase one, and that gets us hundreds of millions of players into our back end system. And then our phase two, we are coming out with a augmented reality app that's kind of similar to a Pokemon Go married to a World of Warcraft, where you can run around in the physical world, and we give you game quests in that game, and we can drive you to physical locations and engage you with those locations. Basically we distribute items on the blockchain. As you all were hearing before, we have a whole blockchain ecosystem, marketplace, auction house, trade zone, that sort of thing. But what we can do with the augmented reality app is we can use it as a audience engagement tool, or a fan engagement tool, if you will, inside of movie theaters or places like the Sphere or Cosm, if you're familiar with them. They're run off of Unreal Engine servers that should be interactive. What we hate is the Sphere is a $2.3 billion video game peripheral, and they treat it as a glorified television screen. It's all, basically just film being shown there when it should be interactive. And my whole world is all interactive. And I've given a couple treatments to Will on some of the content that some of the IPs brought to us, on how we would take that and make it full-blown interactive content in the video game world. So that's pretty much what I like to do, and I'll pass it back to Will. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pro. Mr. Bill Boyd standing next to something from my favorite movie of all time, They Live, and this is about us changing the station. The show is yours, and then Sam Harris, if you can hear me, I see your number on there. After Bill's done, please let the world know what we've been sitting on for a long time, sir. Bill Boyd.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. I don't know if that's my background. I'm looking at the Godfather thing. Hey, first of all, Will and I hit it off through a movie called They Live, when we met in an unexpected adventure. Long story short, my background comes from 40 years of television and film. I started out at Dick Clark Productions as a runner. I left there as a producer, director, cameraman. I started on the American Music Awards. I did 25 years on the American Music Awards, 25 years on the Academy of Country Music Awards. I did the Golden Globe Awards for probably 10, and all the shows from rock and roll New Year's Eve, to bloopers. I've been lucky to do a little bit of everything. I think Will has my resume, but long story short, I've been very lucky, and I think that's all in a pattern of being at the right place at the right time and believing in things. Will's a believer. I'm a believer. I left Dick Clark Productions as a producer, director, cameraman, editor. Dick and I did a thing called the NXL Paintball World Cup Championship. Dick sold Dick Clark Productions so he couldn't compete with variety shows. So he was so smart that he created the NXL Paintball World Cup Championship. And it went on ESPN, and we had, the best ratings that they'd had for that kind of entertainment, so to speak. And the reason Will and I really hit it off is because I worked with Jerry Lewis for 25 years. I did the Jerry Lewis telethon for 17 years. So I'm very familiar with telethons. I believe in what Will is trying to do. Hey, it's a big mountain to climb. Telethon's not an easy accomplishment. There's a lot of logistics and, taking care of people. But we'll get into that later. But I'm very lucky that I fell in the path of Will through John Carpenter and They Live, and most of all through Dave Sheridan. Shout out to Sheridan.
Yes, sir.
To meet you all, and I wish you all the best. And I look forward to meeting all of you. Let's have fun and let's take care of Will.
Thank you, Bill. We're taking care of each other. I appreciate all of that, sir. And when I met you, I knew I was firmly on the right path. I want to kick it. I don't know if you can hear me. Sam Harris, are you there, sir? His number's on. That's okay. There's also a Dot. Who's the Dot? Hang on. 1 second. Oh. Well, now we're silencing the waters. Anybody else want to add anything?
Just that this has been an amazing time, and it's lovely to meet you all. And I look forward to us all working together to realize our collective dream.
Absolutely. And David, we're going to do another Zoom call with you and me, Sam Harris, Steve Bhaerman, Robert Buell, and Don Bennett, and Melanie as well. And anybody else that wants to join can, but that one is purely focused. Tori as well, because he's got the connected relationships for a music side like I do. That's going to literally be planning the next steps that is going to change not only the entertainment industry, but we're going to do this every single year, man. This is some stuff that used to be done before our generation. And, I'm convinced the team behind Planet Hollywood, when they were launching that, all people I'm directly connected to as well, had it right. But for whatever reason, time stopped all of that. And when I got led to Tommy Bina, I knew I was on the right path because I didn't meet him until I put together everything and submitted the offer to buy Paramount, and then had corporate collusion prevent the light from being seen by the world. So this video right here, on top of what I've already been making since I've been home in Ocala, that I'm going to debut to the world on May 15th, which was the viral debut of Mark the Bird Fitterich, who I am directing the biopic on his life. You see, overnight in the 70s, he became a global sensation. Him and Peter Frampton were the two biggest things in pop culture. To this day, he is the only athlete that has ever graced the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. And none of that's lost on me. And he has a foundation as well that his family still runs, a family I met and ate in the same diner that everybody used to gather around and watch him pitch for the Detroit Tigers. Yet another legacy connected to me. And this Zoom and this finale, well, it's the end of all these videos I've had to make for the world to not only see me, but my family and all of my partners. And I finally got my emotions under control again to where I don't start crying. And this has been literally the honor of a lifetime. leading all this forward. And what David Ellison doesn't realize, and you know, the modern gladiator sport known as the UFC, well, one of the lead actors of my directorial debut is Eric Chandler. I've been promising Eric I would launch his acting career like I've promised everybody else's. And David Ellison went and sat down next to Elon Musk because those two have one thing in common. A judge that prevented Elon from getting a massive payoff from Twitter is currently presiding over the Project Rise Partners New York Pension Fund lawsuit against Skydance. So I'm pretty sure he was going there to have a conversation because the date of that, well, I've got a receipt before he was even on camera getting snapped because, you know, I have it on good authority that he made a phone call to somebody directly connected to me. And the way biology works, you see, until Ellison spoke to somebody that actually cared about what I was doing and getting to the end of this, we were never going to be able to actually make the world aware of what was going on behind the scenes. And when he told that friend of mine that will rename nameless due to his protection and the trust we have, that daddy was going to make sure that everything worked out, well, I've got something to tell you. I led in the path of light and God, and there's other plans in store for the ending of what they thought the movie was going to be. So, that being said, we're going to have a few more of these after I launch publicly what we're doing. And Tori Gamble, you get the singled out credit, sir, because you see, I met Esai Morales many years before he came back into my life. But you did everything possible to have him sitting at the head of the table at the forming of what ultimately got called Project Rise Partners. And I got something for the world to see on our streaming platform that we already own. I'm launching the Big Picture World channel on the day that Final Reckoning comes out in global theaters. And it's not going to be our final reckoning. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life talking about the legacy that tried to prevent mine from happening, that I stepped straight on to do all of this with all of you amazing human beings. And I'm never going to stop. And now the spotlight's going to be shining bright and centered on me. And I got a former made man of the mafia protecting me on one side and everybody else standing equally next to me. So thank you. And Bruce, thanks for helping me survive, man. Your truck, everything, Tori, the house. I'm just so grateful, and this is all real, and it always has been. That was the only way. I kept walking in it because I kept meeting too many people and seeing way too much connection. And I had a woman who taught me self-love that I disappointed 20 million times over. And everything that I've been doing was for the women that taught me who to ultimately become who I was supposed to be in life. So thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for the path ahead, the one that's behind us. And it's an honor to have created not only Big Picture World with you, but a new foundation moving forward across the entire world of film, TV, music, art, every single aspect. Thank you. I love all of you, and I got nothing left to say. And we'll keep this going because we're just getting started. Goodbye,
Thank you,
everybody.
sir. Good evening.
Thanks for your
Pleasure,
time,
guys.
guys.
I will. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. God bless.
Thank you.
Rock on, brother.
Thank you.